Yeah, and Tony, I want to talk specifically about some of our companies. We saw this new wave of digitization from the pandemic, remote work, right? Working from home opportunities. So companies had to scramble to implement these technologies to create these, at-home networks and things of that nature. But then now the security aspect kind of has to play catch up.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And when you think about how the pandemic started and accelerated so fast, where everybody suddenly, don't go out, stay home, so that we don't uh, infect others. If we had the COVID-19, we saw CIOs, chief information officers and chief information security officers, really do a quick pivot where all of the projects they had, many of them were set aside, for modernizing security infrastructure or whatever else they had on their plate that they were working on, to really focus on, moving workers to remote locations from their homes. Some in the office still, but alone in the office. I see a lot of small companies that have a single individual in the office during the pandemic, and that caused really a lot of issues because most organizations had a perimeter and very strong policies around what you can and can't do, along with controls to enforce those policies. And suddenly now you've moved everybody remote and you don't have the infrastructure for that. You don't have the protection mechanisms, which has to be at that point in time really on the endpoint, on your laptop, notebook, tablet, phone, whatever you have, to actually ensure that that system doesn't get compromised. So some of the attacks we're seeing today are very problematic. And the other piece tied to that, related to the two attacks that Sean just mentioned, we have to think about it from that perspective too. When the pandemic hit, it wasn't only for some people to try and work remotely, it was for everyone that was able to. So a lot of companies that have ICS systems, operational technology systems at plants and factories, also connected those systems so their workers could also be remote from their homes, which caused more challenges and more issues. So we're just now starting to play catch up and put that security infrastructure back in place like it should be.
Right, because you think about it, we would end up being more vulnerable because of it. And so, Sean, I think it begs the question, is cybersecurity lagging behind this digitization?
I think it is lagging behind. And I think, touching on what Tony said, I think some companies are moving so quickly to digitize that they're not sort of doing it with security, right? And so there's a concept out there called DevSecOps, where you actually develop, right, bring security and partner with them at the beginning and operate, right, collectively as a team. That is really the key, I think, to a successful digital transformation of the way a company goes. But as Tony mentioned, it seems like we're always in a game of catch up.